The next train to arrive on platform 1 goes to...
If you've made it this far through the podcast, you probably would appreciate that we're both, inner west lefties.
Sure. This might be the very beginning of the podcast, so congratulations on getting it this far.
Yeah. Past the intro.
You made it.
Now go to audible.com/Shaun Allen. Our sponsor this week is Loot Crate. Audible, what's the name of the podcast? Anyway.
It's Sunday.
You've got to package 16 bits of mail.
As you do every week.
Lynda.com is our sponsor this week.
Is there a site called Lynda.com?
Yeah. That's right, Loot Crate. Audible.
Don't wait.
Who's got the time to go to school? Audible.com. Do you know about Loot Crate?
I go to the post office every day because I'm a fucking idiot.
Adult pleasure toys. Adult leisure toys. And that's right. Another word that rhymes with leisure.
Treasure toys.
Adult treasure toys. I'm talking about real pirate gold. Edit point.
Like, Lachlan's a radio guy, so he's going to know...
He's used to having interviews with no questions. Literally, including yours. No, not really. I had more for yours than most, actually. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm terrible.
Well, a lot of listeners would know you as presenter of The Bridge on FBI.
Correct.
It's Wednesdays and Thursdays?
Tuesdays and Wednesdays.
But we were on a Thursday,
I was on a Thursday.
But that was unusual.
Oh my god! It could be. Who knows?
Yeah, you don't quite. I wouldn't give The Bridge a particular day of the week feeling with your ones anyway.
Thank you, I think.
Yeah, I don't. That's just a statement. It's not anything more.
Leave that in.
You've been hosting community radio. You did Triple H, which is Hornsby, I believe, and you did was it Northern Beaches Radio?
Radio Northern Beaches.
Northern Beaches. Is that where you're from?
That's where I'm from. Yeah. Originally Newport.
Okay.
And
okay.
The station's based in was Belrose initially, and now it's based in Forestville. Oh no, Terry Hills. Sorry.
And then you had a whole bunch of different shows on FBI. You had you had a comedy show I saw.
Yes,
where you
briefly.
Produced it.
Yeah, I produced it. I wasn't on air for the lion's share of it, although it was kind of like a brief run show because I kind of mentioned this to you in messages. But yeah, basically, my initial interest in getting into radio was to kind of like emulate Tom Ballard's career. That's very specific.
Very specific.
But it's Tom Ballard, he was a morning host or breakfast host, whatever you call it on Triple J.
I can't believe we're talking about the past tense about Tom Ballard.
Yeah, I know.
This is the way time moves.
I know.
It's
and
amazing.
he's only like 28 himself.
Yeah,
so
he's
probably even younger.
No, he's younger than 28 because I remember listening to the radio and going, and they were 21 and I think I was 22 and just going, oh my God, they're younger than me. Yeah. Like it's like that when you realize that sports heroes and stuff are younger than you. It's a strange experience. So you were trying to emulate.
So I basically I wanted to do comedy when I first.
And this is like 18.
Yeah, pretty much like even earlier than that, kind of like 2011, 2012. I just always wanted to do comedy, and I wanted to make people laugh, which is something that I kind of indirectly do now as part of my many jobs. But the thinking was if I became a comedian and started on like a shitty community radio show, then I could do what Tom Ballard did, which is the exact same thing.
Yeah.
So like he started on a community station in Warrnambool. I work for a community broadcasting organisation. I should know what it is, but I don't. But he started on that. He kind of got, bloody headhunted or whatever, and it helped boost his comedy career. Now, sort of like with the benefit of foresight, you kind of ask by how much, because he's kind of now at like an equal playing field as a lot of other comedians that you're seeing, which is good.
Yes.
I'm still quite into the comedy scene. Like I listen to a lot of podcasts myself.
There was a question of mine. I prepared. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. No. This is just. Don't worry about the question.
No.
What kind of podcasts are you listening to?
Mostly comedy. Sometimes Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones podcast. They just discuss it.
Oh yeah.
in super detail?
It's like 2.5 hours.
Each episode?
Yeah. And
That's
it's
great.
like-
I love over-analysis that's
Yeah.
longer than the thing that it's talking about.
It's also incredibly dry. Like,
right?
I don't know. I just kind of want the host to get high or something and just like loosen up and be like,
Right.
because they're like, wow, this was such a technically and visually and casting impressive episode. Where really, I just want them to go, whoa, we saw the dragon obliterate everyone. He's dead and he's dead. It's like the Oprah equivalent of like medieval fantasy death. You get a death and you get a death and you get a death and you get bolted. You know, but wow, that was already a tangent.
No. This is the whole thing is tangents. So just go wherever.
So yeah.
So you like that you're still super into the comedy stuff, but you started out with the comedian.
Yeah,
kind of
so
point of view.
I started out doing stand-up comedy, and again, the thinking was that if I did a community radio show and I was somewhat good at it, then I could use that to sort of like boost my comedy career, and then I could be the next Tom Ballard. Which, you know, I'm fatter than him, so I've already got a jump on him. But I'm not blonde.
Well, like comedy-wise, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm balding, so I always considered that maybe, like, you know, I was like balding at 21, so then I thought, hey, you know what? There's only one
Louis
way to
C.K.
take advantage of this situation. Louis C.K., the Sam Simmons kind of thing, you know, just sort of capitalize on your weirdness.
Fun fact, Sam Simmons is kind of the reason that I wanted to do comedy in the first place.
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah.
I fucking love Sam Simmons.
He's
like,
great.
Like, I feel like my knowledge of Australian comedy is, particularly local comedies, is very lackluster, but Sam Simmons,
Yep.
I fucking worship that guy.
Yep.
The segments that he used to do on Triple J,
Oh, so good.
that shit,
shit
like,
he
honestly, it was some of that stuff that I was just like, someone's got to do a podcast just with that kind of editing and weird shit. Like, he does those 2-minute segments, but
Yeah. He actually does have a podcast of pretty much just the archived material from
Sounds of
Triple J.
Sam, is that the one? Yeah. That's
But yeah, like
it's something about the way it messes with the pitch and stuff of all this stuff
Yeah.
and the harmonies and
I don't know. He's just such a strong comedic character, I suppose.
yeah,
Like,
he really is.
There's nothing about it that doesn't scream confidence in his comedy, where some people might call it misplaced. He just knows what it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Did you ever watch Sam Simmons had a show called Problems? Did you ever? Yeah, that was brilliant.
Yeah.
The scenes, God, we're really going to alienate some people with this, but anyway,
Fuck it, if you don't know Simmons, don't listen.
Yeah.
Tune out.
Tune out. Everyone tunes out. The scenes in Problems between Sam Simmons and the shopkeeper.
David Quirk. Yeah.
Is that his name? Okay, I don't know anything about him, but
Yeah. He's a comedian as well.
yeah, right. Okay,
Yeah.
see, my lack of knowledge is already showing.
Yeah.
Fucking brilliant. It's like, I don't, nothing compares to that. Well, what other comedians? Like, I mean, my knowledge is like limited to like Justin Hamilton and Gary Eck and you know, obviously I worship Shaun McAuliffe and the older guys and
Yeah.
stuff. But any sort of other local acts that you sort of,
I live with a comedian. If
Oh, yeah?
that helps. Nick O'Malley. He is one half of the team that runs Green Lights Comedy Nights, which is Fridays. Little plug for Nico here.
Okay.
Which is Fridays at the Gaelic Club in Surrey Hills, and I like to think that this opinion is unbiased because I've gone a couple of times prior to me becoming like I'm really good mates with him now, but I went a couple of times prior to me becoming really good mates with him. It is hands down one of the best comedy rooms in Sydney because you walk in, and even though it's on the top floor of an Irish pub in Surrey Hills, and like pretty much everything around it is like fenced off with like Sydney 2020, the city of tomorrow and all that, and you feel you're in a comedy room at an Irish pub in a city that's under construction in like the busy, like right next to the busiest train station, and yet it feels like New York.
and the most, super constructed. Yeah.
And yet it feels like New York. Because the vibe is off the chain. It is everyone's there to laugh. It's at the end of the month. It's kind of at a regular time, so it's kind of like, you know, oh, we got through August, we got through June or July. Let's go to this. It's kind of like it's like a Ben and Jerry's comedy night or something. It's like
right.
A little treat for yourself.
that's great. So what's it called again? Sorry.
It's called Green Lights Comedy Nights.
Okay.
And
at the Gaelic Club.
Yeah, and you go up there and everyone's just laughing. People are smiling. People are drinking this weird like literal pint size, not pint size as in that's a small thing, pint size as in that's big compared to a schooner. I could have used a different terminology.
I'm just confused now. But
these pint size, like heavy Irish beers, and everyone's getting smashed. And there's like, have you been to the Gaelic Club?
Not recently. I didn't even know it went by the name the Gaelic Club again because it was called something else for a little while, right? This is just going to be one giant reverb fest. This this episode.
God.
No, it's fine.
Audible.com. I've made enough references to this point that it's guaranteed that it's making it into the podcast, which is great.
It'll be in there in some form. It has to be, because otherwise I'll be having to cut out the entire podcast.
I'm incredibly happy about this as well, though, because I don't think it's a great joke, but I know that
No, it's good.
I know that now that I've worked hard enough on it, it's going to make it by hook or crook.
By hook or crook?
Oh, that's a great phrase.
Are you a time traveler? What is that?
Only up
It's like
here, my
18th
friends.
century, one particular pocket of America.
It was literally used by one man, and he was fictional.
Please do not sit on passengers to alight boarding the train. For
Stay.
Yeah, sort of like coming back to Sam Simmons, I remember quite specifically, I went out to see him with a buddy of mine, Pete, still like my best mate, at the Factory Theatre, and we rocked up there.
Is this part of the comedy festival or something?
Yeah. I feel like I might have even been part of the Fringe, because I feel like it was in the second half of 2010. Jesus Christ, that was 7 years ago.
That's weird.
And me and Pete, because to kind of, not a long story, but like a story that I shouldn't go into detail because it'd just be unnecessary. Short, we went the previous week, but we were running quite late, and so we literally got there for the last 5 minutes. We went up to Sam and we were like, hey, we fucked up. We completely missed your show. Can we just get a photo or whatever? You know, just like a little memento. He goes, oh, I'll give you tickets for next week. And we're like, sweet, thank you, amazing. So we went the following week, and he already knew us. So I think we were like sitting somewhere in like the middle part, and then he's like over the loudspeaker before he comes on, and he goes, Lockie and Pete, come to the front row. And we're like, oh shit. And this was back in the day.
Did he say it quietly, or was it like,
no,
come
no,
to the front
like,
row?
Like literally over the PA.
Oh, okay,
so
right,
everyone
yeah,
knew
yeah.
that he knew who we were.
Right.
And fuck, it was this was like he still kind of does it a little bit, but especially when he's doing like a bigger show, he doesn't have the audience interaction as much. But this show, he went fucking hard on the audience interaction,
And particularly you two?
particularly me.
Oh, right.
And so there are so many moments. I remember there was a moment where there was a strobe light flashing. They were kind of like pre-recorded, because he loves like his pre-recorded voiceovers and music and all that. Pre-recorded music thing that's just going in like really sort of shrill voice, creamy Alfredo, and he's got me. His face is up against my face. We're practically kissing, except for between our two faces is a packet of creamy Alfredo like pasta thing, and he's holding me by the ass, and it was like the most fucking confronting thing. And a bunch of other shit happened that night. At one point, he's got me sat down on a chair, and he goes, so what's your name? And I go, Lachlan. And he goes, oh, your name's Crocklin. And I was like, no, Lachlan. And he goes, Crocklin, what do you do? And I go, I'm a student. And he goes, oh, you're a deep sea diver, are you? Oh, Crocklin, the deep sea diver. And he's like hands all over my body, like a fucking music video, just like massaging my thighs and my side and all that. And then he's like, Crocklin, the deep sea diver. And I was like, what the So I walk away from that night, and I was just like, that was the most confronting, bizarre, and glorious thing I've ever done. I remember saying to Pete, I was like, I want to become a comedian. That's what I want to do.
Yeah.
And it didn't happen.
Ah.
End of story. End of incredibly long.
But no, that's not. It's just screw it. It's a podcast. Who cares? But you wait. So you say it didn't happen, but you're 22 fucking years old.
Yeah.
If I know anything from my comedy podcast that I listen to, that's often the age that people get into comedy. Frequently. Look at. You obviously host The Bridge every night, and you have to be extremely up to date with what's going on music-wise in Australia, in Sydney in particular.
Allegedly, yes.
Well, I've seen the stuff that you know what's going on, like and to the degree that one person can know what's going on.
Sure.
No one knows everything, but what? I don't know what the statement that is, but you obviously really switched on with that, and I possibly, I would say that The Bridge is one of the real premier local, or at least new music, Australian new music shows in Sydney. Yeah. Is it just Sydney?
It's just Sydney. Yeah.
Right. Well,
yeah.
there's a couple of others that, but it's kind of the one of the main ones of the city, and
Yes.
yeah, you can take that, take a compliment, and it's complimenting the show. You
Take it.
but
Gonna ram it down your throat.
what I was gonna say was you have to stay so up to date with the music scene.
Yes.
And I was wondering if that affected you said that you kind of shied away from comedy, and I was wondering if you had lost, a little bit of that engagement with the community, with the comedy community, when you're trying so hard to gauge with the music community, because you run Chiefly Sounds as well.
Yeah.
You
Which
are constantly.
doesn't exist.
What do you mean it doesn't exist?
Well, it's a thing, but it definitely doesn't exist.
Well, let's just call it a label for a thing that you do sometimes.
Sure, except for I don't release music, but it
Sure.
exists, but kind of only. It's like you watch Game of Thrones?
No.
No, okay. Well, there's
This
this great.
leaves me out of every conversation. It sucks.
Yeah, I could imagine. Get on it, man.
I know.
but
I get on shows after they're done, then I
Sure.
don't have to wait.
Sure. But there's this great bloody quote in the show where it's just like, power exists where you think it exists, or something like that.
Right.
I think Chiefly Sounds is much the same. It's like, Chiefly Sounds exists where you think it exists.
Oh, I thought it existed until you burst that bubble.
Yeah.
But, it's not an incorporated company with revenue and generally stuff like that.
How dare you speak about my revenue? No, I'm kidding.
I think we owe you some revenue.
It's mostly a Facebook page with the things that I do hanging off it like little tendrils. Or like when you see those diagrams of like the tiny little fish that like suck the fins of a shark, and like
Who's the shark though?
I don't know.
Is it just
The shark is
the world?
the music scene.
Right. Okay.
I don't know. Anyway, but yes, Chiefly Sounds. So in response to your question, it's not really. I kind of consciously, well, maybe not so consciously, stopped doing comedy, not because I was getting too into the music scene and that was like pulling me away from comedy. In fact, the music scene and like the radio thing, if anything, kind of like pulled me away from the church more than comedy.
Holy shit! I
yeah.
was gonna ask about that as well.
Have we talked about that?
No, we haven't.
Because like
I just saw that you went to a Christian school on LinkedIn, and
Oh,
I was
right.
just
Oh,
like,
my
I
God.
bet that there's a story here.
Uh,
Holy shit, man! I am fucking. I am so blessed. I'm so happy with my own predicting
so
powers.
blessed. Hashtag blessed.
Hashtag blessed. Sorry, go on. It pulled you away from the
No,
church.
so it
and the
we'll-
comedy.
We'll talk about that later, but like I stopped doing comedy because I wasn't very good at it, and because when I was doing it, I was very nervous and I was like very self-aware, and I just
stand-up comedy, you mean?
yeah, stand-up
Yeah.
comedy, and I just didn't have that sort of like self. What do you call it? Like
Faith in yourself.
not self-faith, more like self like fuck. What are they? Like self-deception.
Right, sure.
Like
you
in order to
couldn't-
believe that I
yeah.
was the greatest.
Yes,
Or
which you need to do
Exactly.
Which you need to delude yourself that you're good in order to start in anything.
Exactly. So I did it a couple of times, and
And then of course you look back later and say, "Well, that was rubbish." But it doesn't matter because you would never be.
for the most part, it was rubbish. I knew that then. There was like,
Oh, I was sorry. I wasn't saying. I didn't mean to say that, but you said it first. Sorry, stand up, and you.
no,
were,
I don't care, man. Like,
well, how long did you do that for? How many times did you go
not,
up?
Really, not that many. Like, honestly, I feel like it's
Handful.
It's like it's a footnote in history of Lachlan's life. But
But you're a pretty talkative guy. You're pretty confident. You've got a
Yeah.
great way of choosing words, of speaking, and you
I try to.
yeah. Well, but those are what happened with stand up comedy that you felt that those skills did not translate.
I think it was just a little bit of stage fright, a little bit of nervousness.
Yeah.
It was funny because I was DJing for Bilby on Saturday night. Do you know Bilby?
I know that they're very popular right now, but I don't think I could place a song to the.
Sure. Bilby is the project of Harry Moxham, who is from the beaches, same as myself, and it's really interesting, sort of like self-made beats, mostly with guitars and like other effects and all that. Honestly, it's probably one of my favorite sort of like musical projects to be really active in the last 12 months. He's got this mixtape called Botanicals, which is like from start to finish. It's only like 28 minutes or something.
What do you
It's
mean
like-
by mixtape though? I always get confused when people say that.
Here's the thing. Technically, it's not a mixtape because he made all the beats, but I think it's kind of easing off the pressure of that being like his debut album. Or
Right,
something.
yeah.
And you can kind of, listening to it, you can kind of see where he's coming from because it's really, really good. But I feel like maybe in the grand scheme of things, if he called it his debut album, he would have that kind of hangover him where like, you know.
No, I get it. Yeah, absolutely.
If
Yeah,
you guys want to do a debut album, it's going to...
Oh, it's shitloads of pressure, and you know, you only get one chance.
Exactly.
No, but I that's a really great way of actually publicizing an album or doing an album, calling it a mixtape. So
I feel like it mostly works for hip hop artists. Like he's a hip hop artist. I don't know if I mentioned that or not. He raps.
Right.
Yeah.
He raps with the words and you know he does the beats.
Yeah.
So this is like, I'm really bad at that quadrant of music. Like it's just terrible.
Yeah.
Classical as well.
Anyway, but again, tangents. This bloody podcast
tangent-
should be called Tangents.
It probably should be.
Yeah. I fell asleep watching Super Troopers on the weekend.
Oh, Super Troopers. You know they're making a new one, right?
What?
Yeah. Like
Is that why it was at like the forefront of the back of my mind? I think that is the favorite thing I've said all night.
That's great. I understand the feeling of the forefront of the back of my mind. That's very clear to me. I'm like, oh, I think the forefront of the back of my mind is literally the one that's been there for the longest. The thought that's been there for the longest.
That's great. I love. I will use that after tonight.
Forefront of the back of my.
I feel like I've so many people will hear me saying this and say, Lachlan, you've said the exact same thing to me. But you know when like you have a story or you have a particular thing that you want to say and you've said it enough times that it's literally just become a formula of you say it exactly the same every single time after you've perfected that story. Does that make sense?
I think it probably yes, yeah, you know the beats of it, you know exactly when the sort of the tension points, blah blah blah. You tell it that way.
Exactly. So like you know how to weave it. It's like if you had like a really interesting run-in at the supermarket where you ran into Jenna and you and Jenna didn't realize that you went to primary school together and there was this moment of like...
Wait, is Jenna a fictional character? Or are you talking about...
This is entirely hypothetical.
Sure.
Stay with me.
I didn't know if you were talking about... I thought you might have been talking about Amelia Jenner, and I'm just like, is that what you guys call each other? Wait, where is he going with this?
No, but when you tell it to the first person, you go, "Oh, funniest thing just happened over the weekend. I was at the supermarket and Jenna was there. You remember Jenna?" And they go, "No." "Oh, from high school, from primary school, right?" And they go, "Oh, Jenna Bassett." And you go, "Yeah, Jenna Bassett."
Yeah.
And then you kind of like you tell the story, and it's a little flabby. It's like there's shit that could be shaved down in order to make it lean and more entertaining. You're paying
attention to people's faces as you're telling it.
And you're also paying attention to the words that you're saying.
Sure.
I mean, I know this is certainly the case with me, and I know this is the case with at least one of my housemates, Nico, because he will tell me a story. He's very good at this as well, of having a story, having a particular hook and reason that you're listening to it, and then finding what works and just shaving that down and down and down until it's not like a wedge, it's a needle.
It's a needle?
A needle.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah. So it's not a wedge that's like prodding against your skin. It's a needle that like goes right under your skin, and you're like, oh, that works.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's so precise that it hooks you in.
Exactly. Yeah, and you find the stuff that works and the stuff that doesn't.
It hits you in the forefront of the back of your mind.
That's the thing. This is weird, but like I think I've always kind of, especially when it comes to casual conversation, thought about it in the way of, oh, this is like stand-up. Like, I've got my material. Let's say you're a stand-up comedian and you're doing an open mic night and you're doing like a tight five of like, well, not tight five, but like 5 minutes of brand new material. You go through your past experiences, you find the best of those, and you find the most interesting way to tell them.
Yeah.
And then you tell them. And that's what stories have become for me. It's just, instead of... Well, it kind of is like open mic comedy, in that you have the initial material, and then you see what works, you see what gets a laugh, or in the case of stories, what gets a response, what seems to pique someone's interest, and then you shave it away so that anything that is outside of there is gone. It's not in the story because people aren't interested. And then
And
you
in
shave,
that,
you
what
shave,
you're
you
saying,
shave.
it may as well not have happened.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But I feel like that's kind of what storytelling is to me, in terms of like, if I'm going to tell you something ridiculous about over the weekend, then I've told it. That, especially if it's like on a Wednesday or a Thursday or a Friday, there's a good chance that I've already told it to at least 6 or 7 other people, and I've figured out the most effective way to tell it.
So what you're saying is don't ask me how my weekend was on Monday. Ask me on Thursday.
Because you're going to get a better
You're
return
going to
on
get
your
a better
investment.
answer. So every Thursday I should go, how was your weekend?
Yeah, your ROI is going to be through the roof. I promise you.
You mean return on investment? Yeah. I did. I got a commerce degree, motherfucker. I know return on investment.
Yep. But like, perfect example. I was on Saturday and Sunday over the weekend. I was doing leaflet drops for a real estate place in Tarahumara, just for like a little bit of extra cash. And Tarahumara is an incredibly like hilly area, right?
It is very hilly.
Very
yeah.
hilly and very steep inclines. And I was walking all over those steep inclines doing letter drops. There was barely a flat road in the entire 7+ hours that I walked. Right?
I can actually understand this experience personally because I did some paper runs around the very, very hilly areas of Menai as a 15-year-old or whatever.
Yeah.
To derail your story. Back to it.
No,
Back on the rails.
But first day was good. I just made
And
it.
this is the story that's shaved down, right?
This is the story that is at least somewhat shaved down from. I've only told this one once.
Right.
Before, but
it's a work in progress.
But so on the second day, I did the final of the leaflet drops, and in order to get back to my car, I had to do this one last hill. It was about a 10-minute walk, and it was so steep, and I got about halfway up that 10-minute walk, and then I was just like, I'm cooked right now. I don't have any more flies to do. I just want to sit down. And I was so close. There wasn't like one of those hilly inclines where you could like lie down and you're still kind of like sitting up. It's like midway through crunch or something.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's in the opposite of the sweet spot.
Exactly. So you either had to like sit up against a tree, which I didn't want to do, or just lie down, which I didn't want to do either. And I kept on walking, and I came across a couch, and I was like,
"This came across it just sitting
a couch in a driveway with a sign that says "Take me."
Oh my god!
Yeah, exactly.
Did you hold up a sign to the couch that said "Take me"?
No, but I sat on the couch and I was just like, this is ridiculous. This is the only time I've come across a piece of furniture in my 7 hours of walking completely unique streets around Tarahumara. And the one time that I do is just when I'm about to fucking cark it.
Yeah,
Right?
it's got it perfect. I feel like I really could have used that in every art gallery that I've ever been in.
Yeah. But I was also thinking, like, for any cars that were passing by, I'm basically the fat, slobby human equivalent of a viral marketing campaign. To which I say...
Were you worried that someone's going to, like, just take a photo of you?
No.
Of an exhausted man?
More in terms of, like, I'm living, breathing evidence that the couch really does work.
I had a question that I thought was...
Go for it.
This is terribly phrased, and this is me just blurting stuff down at work.
Nope.
Haven't edited it or thought about it since. I wrote down... There, let me read it out.
Please.
Lachlan,
How else am I going to...
I was hearing someone who was talking about them. They were writing for a TV show. I can't remember the name. It was on a podcast like a year ago.
Okay.
And it was someone going, I'm really just annoyed that I just can't watch TV anymore because now that she's sort of working within it. And then someone else who was a veteran TV writer said, oh, your days of watching TV recreationally are over. You are constantly going to be thinking about that and not able to enjoy things in the same way that you used to.
Yep.
You've been in community radio basically since you finished school, if my calculations worked.
I called up the chairman of Radio Northern Beaches the day I finished my last HSC exam. And I said, get me in.
That's great.
Yeah.
And he gave you a chance? Obviously?
Yeah, so I had already done like a radio workshop there prior to calling him up. Yeah, I was basically said, look, I'm done with school. I've got shitloads of free time. I can help you out. And that was
in that. I'm assuming in that wonderful period, sort of the November, December of the year of leaving school.
Pretty much.
You got the schoolies, then uni does not start until that's very.
Sorry, that is not stable.
This table is just made of drum stands.
Ah, cool. I dig it. But yeah, so I literally started in community radio the day I finished the HSC. I didn't do schoolies. I just did stuff. Basically, when you started at Northern Beaches Radio, you were choosing the music. Yeah. So look, I started. Thing is, community radio is a really mixed bag, and it attracts a
I'll
lot
fucking
of.
say I can't believe it sometimes.
Yeah.
Some people are so good, some people are so bad.
I can't tell if you're being sarcastic.
No,
right now.
not being sarcastic.
There's something about the way
sometimes.
that you said that. It's like
absolutely.
It's like you're winking to the audience, or like you're going to drop in a sting.
Look, I got no experience. I did 1 year of community radio, and some people I was just in awe of, just going, they have got it so natural. And then other people I'm going, how can you be worse than me?
Yeah.
I don't even understand it.
Yeah.
So it is a mixed bag.
Yeah.
Sorry, distracted from the point.
No, that's cool. But yeah, so I think so at this station that I started at, and fun facts, Andrew Levins started there as well. DJ Levins.
Oh, DJ Levins.
Yeah.
Okay. See, that's the only way. I wouldn't have recognized Andrew Levins.
He's
it's like when you named the guys from the presets. I got no idea.
Yeah. Well, he runs the podcast Hey Fam. Which,
right.
With
I think I've listened to one episode of that.
It's a good podcast.
Yeah.
And I know that only because I've never spoken to Andrew. He probably doesn't know who I am. But he mentioned that once on his podcast. And I just kind of my ears pricked up, and I was just like, I don't know anyone that started on Radio Northern Beaches besides him and Vic LaRusso.
Vic LaRusso from
The Traffic Chopper.
In, what was it like? Is that...
on Channel 10. Yeah, g'day Steve, it's Vic LaRusso here in the Traffic Chopper, and I'm over the M1, and it is bloody packed out here. Make sure that you get your GIO insurance so you get yourself covered.
His name sounds like his voice. Like, it just screams.
Fun. Oh my god, this is like a rush of memories, but like, I used to make music back in the day, and the very first track I made, maybe bar like one or two covers where I was like, because I was literally like teaching myself music at the time.
Right.
I think like the first original song I made was called Vic LaRusso, and it was terrible. It was the worst thing that you or I will or could ever hear.
Okay.
But it was a tribute to Vic.
You got to do the tributes at first. You know,
exactly.
that's all you can really do.
Exactly.
So you used to make music. And you, when you say used to, you mean you don't anymore?
No. I've still got like a couple of bits of gear, like nothing like what you've got in here. But
none of this shit is mine. That's the crazy thing.
That's cool.
Yeah, this is all just people moved to London and left their shit behind.
Oh, right.
It's great.
Sweet.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I used to make music back in the day. I literally, 2010. For my birthday, I just asked for like a little electronic keyboard. Never played before, but I just said, I'd like to teach myself and pick it up and all that. I was never good. I was like competent. Like I could do chords, and like I'm not particularly dexterous with my left hand, but I could do like bass notes and all that kind of shit.
Yeah, but no one is. Like,
no.
You bet the hardest thing is pushing through that.
Yeah.
Knowing that it's just not good yet.
Yeah.
I did the same thing a couple of years ago. For example, see that $100 high school Casio that leans against that thing there?
I'll take it for $99. Yeah.
Well, that's good. I mean, I only lost $1. I only lost $1 over like 5 years.
Yeah.
So you did everything in keyboard, and what kind of style were you making?
It was like, I think the best way to describe it is uncategorizable.
That's the best one.
So not completely unlike Wow Wow Wow.
Yeah.
Wow 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 definitely has its own particular vibe. Mine was literally just like whatever MIDI presets I could find, and I was just like, you know what? I would like to have a brass section, a saxophone, a glockenspiel, a bass guitar, a slide guitar, and of course a disco beat.
Exactly. Yeah. And then it's just like, I'll get a real drum kit and 2 more electronic drum kits, slightly quieter.
Exactly.
Let's just chuck all that shit in.
Exactly.
Do you feel that's... did you find that a problem when you were trying to make the music? Did you find that that just the sheer choice of things that you can add is almost paralyzing?
Not so much because I was using this program. I had like a PC computer back in the day, and it's basically
You had a PC? God.
Oh my god. But it's basically this program that I was using, Mixcraft, which I would recommend to anyone who's like just wants to like dig around and like start out and just see like, oh, that's a chord, you know, that kind of shit.
Right. And it's got like tempo sort of.
It's got tempo and it's got like
blocks.
a bunch of sort of like pre-made samples that are like royalty free that you can use. And so like there was some like
Gotta love that royalty free.
Yeah, exactly. But it was cool though because you could sort of like take existing elements of songs that were good and like mash them up with your parts that weren't good and see what works and all that. But the choice wasn't paralyzing because there wasn't that much stuff to begin with. Like there was like a lot, but it wasn't like what you would get on Logic or Ableton or anything like that, because it was like a very finite amount of like plugins, and literally at the end of the day they were all just like MIDI presets.
Yeah,
which was great. That's like
it's perfect.
I love
Yeah.
MIDI. I want to live in a MIDI controller.
A MIDI world where everything is some sort of emulation of some other world.
So
Lachlan, you didn't fucking answer my question.
You didn't ask it.
I don't think I did. But I had it in my head.
Yeah.
Where was I up to?
I'm
Okay.
gonna change sitting positions again.
You had right. So here was the question.
Yes.
This
Fire
was
away.
the first one.
Okay.
Which was, so you're obviously one of the biggest music fans that I know. Like, you champion stuff. You champion it and you support it, and
I like championing stuff.
you champion fucking shitloads every week. Like, in terms of the role that you and a few others like you play in Sydney, I don't know how many people say it to you, but you have such a central role in it, and it's amazing that you can come on and be so excited by new music every week, which is quite surprising to me, just from my 1 year on community radio where I had a show and I had complete control of the playlist and I had to do sort of whatever.
Yep.
And I found the way I listen to music became very different. So on what I was saying before about your days of recreationally listening to music are over, you need to fill a playlist every week. I know you're not you don't choose everything in the playlist.
No, I do.
You do?
Yeah.
Don't you have you have some stuff that you have to play?
No.
Oh fuck! Well, thank you, man. You played just a fair few times.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. Well, then that probably rams the point home even more. I was finding that I was listening to music and being very analytical about it, and I was discovering more music than I ever had before, and it was amazing. But I was unable to really sink my teeth into it because there was another show next week, and you do more than one show a week.
Yeah.
Do you get worried that you might be missing something, and being just the way of being able to fully relax without thinking about what you could do for the music or something else? What kind of question is that? I don't fucking know.
No, I get where you're coming from. Like, I suppose one thing is maybe in just this world of everyone is releasing music all the time, constantly. It's like that meme. I don't know what the picture is, but the caption is like, everything happens so much all the time or something like that. I don't know if that's a funny meme. Maybe I saw it on Tumblr and I was actually just depressed when I saw it. But
Right.
what is it like? Everything happens.
Right. So
Horse ebooks.
horse ebooks, like a Twitter account that said everything happens so much. Everything happens so much.
Everything happens so much. It doesn't matter. Cut this out. One thing is, I find I'm not listening to albums all that much.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Because, I mean, for one, who's got the time? And for two, like, kind of, EPs are great for me. Because, like, at the end of the day, they're like 4, 5, 6 tracks maximum. So I can charge through it really quickly. But if someone sends me, like, 18-track album, it's hard because your first impression is always going to be your first impression, right? Which is always the first song, of course. And so, and this happens to me all the time because, you know, often I'm trying to charge through an album in the 2 or 3 hours I've got to prep before the show. Usually it's more, but like, you know, especially if it's a busy week. This has been like a fucking hectic week for me. I've had like the time after work or after TAFE and before the show to prep, which is not that much time.
Yeah.
So when you're listening to an EP or an album, especially with an album, your first impression, that's always going to be the track, at least in my case, that you like the most. And then maybe you'll hear the singles sort of like later down in the track list, but you've already played the singles and one came out 2.5 months ago and the other one came out like 5 weeks ago, and you don't want to play them again because they're not the thing that's just been released. the album's just been released, and so you skip those ones, and then you listen, and then at the end of the day you've got like maybe 7 or 8 tracks that you listen to, and you can't shake the feeling that you like the first one the most, but only because that was the first one that you heard.
Right.
And because it's a full album, you're trying to charge through so quickly that you don't have the time to like differentiate,
analyze
what
why
you
you
love
liked.
and what you don't.
Yeah.
And like honestly, like the single is such a lazy format for radio presenters, but it's the one that we respond to the most because it's saying, hey, this is what we have chosen for you to hear.
Yeah. Okay.
And if you like it, great. But if you don't, that's tough titties. But like when you've got a full album, you go, well, what am I going to hear? So like some people even do like, hey, here's our album focus tracks. So this one, and this one, which is great because then out of those three,
that's perfect, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because out of those 3, maybe one of them is really good, and then I go, hey, you helped me to narrow it down. But like, yeah, I just had like a rant about albums because like they get me stressed.
But I'm finding even just as a consumer, I'm finding my ability to sink my teeth into an album is really quite diminished, and I think part of that is also just getting older. Not that I'm an old man or anything, but you know, there's studies that show that people are less responsive to new music after 30, and
really.
Probably some fucking stupid study. I don't. You know how like it's just some study that the media just jumps on board with and just be just like, hey, what you thought about this was true after all.
It's true though, man. Like it's how we're changing as music consumers. One of my favorite bands, and it's a band that's not particularly well known. It's from the States. It's called Why. WHY with a question mark.
Okay.
And all their URLs are like Y with a question mark all spelled out.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. It's quite clever. But they released a record earlier this year. I listened to it once and I had like a cursory opinion, and I'm pretty sure that it's like maybe not in line with how I would like deem the record to be in terms of quality if I listened to it a couple of times. But like it came out and I heard the singles and I liked the singles. I listened to it once, and then someone asked me, who's also like a huge Y fan, and like it's something that we bond over. Charlie Graydon, if he's listening, formerly of the band Smalcats.
Oh, fucking
yeah.
Is that how you pronounce it? I never knew them, but they're fucking amazing.
Yeah,
it's such a shame they broke up.
Yeah. Well,
sorry. Back on why.
Little plug for pretty much everyone in Smalcats that are doing their own thing.
Small cats. I always called them small cats. I knew that it was double A.
I've done it multiple times on air myself, just because like small is a not particularly.
Well, I thought that was kind of why they
sounding
spelt it with two, because they spelt it SMAAL.
Yeah.
Cats.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I thought that was deliberate. By the way, they blew my socks off. And when I saw,
you see them?
I saw them at their. I'd listened to them a few times, and I think I might have once played them on the radio. In the year that I had, sometimes I just try and find these small bands.
What was your radio station? I was
on East Side.
Ah, right.
So you had your friend from Smilecats who was you bonded over with Y.
Yes, I'm so glad that you brought me back to that point because I forgot already why we were talking about Smilecats. But yeah, so
shout out to Smilecats.
Shout out to Charlie, and Brad and Brendan, everyone, and Michael. Everyone's kind of doing their own thing. Fun fact: Michael Sacco from Smilecats is the older brother of Stephen Sacco, who is one of the singers of Crocodilus.
Ah,
yeah.
Well.
Small world. 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 Take the headphones off. Let's have a conversation.
Okay.
But I feel like I was trying to explain what my own perception of my voice is to someone else, which was it's trying to squeeze the the personality and the id and the positive misguidedness of a 22-year-old soul through the face of a 15-year-old.
What? Those were just words to me.
I don't like my voice. That's all.
Okay. I think that you have a fantastic radio voice, and
what about right now, though?
That's shit.
I feel like my voice has got too many movements to it. I feel like yours is like a nice jazzy piano. You know?
Are you serious? I feel like mine isn't over the top.
Let me go with this metaphor before you
ruin it.
Your before I ruin it, yes. Yours is like a nice jazzy piano, right? It's kind of in the background, and people are eating some nice pasta and all that, and they go, "Oh, how was your meeting with Robson?" And he goes, "Well, my meeting with Robson was very illuminative." And you're just in the background. Whereas mine, people are trying to eat dinner, and I'm like the Jaws theme combined with whatever that song by Bach or Da Vinci or whatever, which goes da 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 da. You know what I'm?
Yeah. But I think it's Beethoven.
Beethoven, sure. Yeah, I think it is.
It's Wagner.
I think it is.
Yeah, you said Wagner.
So you're the nice, easy to listen to piano, whereas mine, I've got so. What I'm trying to say is,
Are you saying that you're loud?
I am loud, but it's more that I've got so many tones and like such this weird range, and I feel like maybe in 6 years, if I'm lucky, I'm not gonna have like voice breakages. But it basically happens. That's part of how I speak. Is this constant like moving from one level or one pitch or one
like
mode
register
of cadence to another perpetually, because that's just how my
Are you
voice
saying
decided to strangle me.
Right, okay.
What I'm saying is that your voice, when you're in your early 20s, is still progressing, is still kind of becoming what it will be, into adulthood, until you're like 27. I feel like. Maybe I'm wrong.
Sure.
Because I don't want to talk...
27?
Dude, look, maybe I'm being a bit harsh on myself, but like, I don't want to sound like this when I'm 40.
Oh, right, yeah.
I don't want to say to my future children, now, it's time for you to get into bed, otherwise Lachlan is going to bring out the paddle.
Okay, wait, so you're
Where's
saying...
the threatening cadence in that? No, I would like to sound more like the sort of person that's telling you that your finances are fucked.
It's not odd, and I can understand it. It's like men who feel that they would look better when they're grey.
Sure.
Like got the silver fox thing going. But you don't feel that about
if I was
anything
grey
other.
right now, I would look terrible.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I feel the same way about me, but you feel like you would like to have that grey voice, if you will, the slightly more gravelly, not gravelly,
it
but
certainly couldn't help.
Certainly couldn't hurt.
Yeah, that's
So we're learning facts about the television show Friends.
Started in 1994. It finished in 2004. Isn't that insane?
It's insane in that...
Isn't that insane that Friends was created in a post 9/11 America?
No, it was pre 9/11.
Well, no, that it existed in a post.
What it was doing made after 9/11. Yeah, in my
I'm sorry.
I have like a graph timeline in my head, and there's some bars, and Friends certainly seems before 9/11.
You hide my clothes, I'm wearing everything you own. Look at me! Oh my God! That is so not the opposite of taking somebody's underwear! Look at me!
The next train to arrive on platform 3 goes to
Music consumption.
Basically,
Spotify.
Yeah, things have changed.
Access.
Things have changed. In terms of the way I listen to music, I can still listen to it and appreciate it, which I am very grateful for. And at the end of the day, like, it's fucking ridiculous that I'm actually doing what I'm doing. Like, really, I had this moment like 2.5 years ago, where I was talking to Stephen Goodhue, who's the former music director of FBI prior to Amelia Jenner. Shout outs to Amelia if she's listening. She's probably not, but g'day anyway.
Very nice woman.
Where I was just kind of like stressing out, and I was probably working at Coles at the time. I did work for Coles for a number of years. That and a beer garden. Who didn't, exactly. And Stephen just said this great, probably throwaway thing to him, but to me it just meant the fucking world at the time, which was, oh, Lachlan, you're going to be in the music industry. You're going to work in the music industry. Like, you're 19 or 20 now, and I can already recognize, like, you're going to be here for probably the rest of your life if you want to, or you could leave tomorrow and start on something else. But I was like, really? Like, yeah, which was that was quite, he probably doesn't know this, but that was big to me to hear at the time.
Yeah. So you kind of felt
This was prior to me being on air as well at FBI.
But were you at Northern Beaches?
Yeah, I was at Northern Beaches, but I was mostly like volunteering at FBI.
Yeah.
Basically.
So you were just I mean, that's fucking great, and not enough people get enough. There's not enough thanks for the people that really encourage. I'm really talking about the fucking English teachers of the world. You know,
Yeah,
the people
sure.
that everyone's got that like one teacher that made a difference for them in high school.
Bruh, Miss Temlet, shout outs.
Shout out to Mrs. Easton.
Yeah.
There's not enough credit to the people that just say something to make a huge difference. Yeah. Like, so you had Stephen Goodhue say that to you at 19 that you are
19 or 20. Yeah.
19, 20. For some reason I'm in my head I was picturing him at Coles talking at you.
No, it was at FBI.
Right.
At FBI.
Like, you just stacking shelves and him just going, "You're gonna make it, Lachlan. You're gonna make it."
And then I just kind of look off wistfully into the distance and I go,
That's literally
you know,
how
Stephen,
I was picturing
I
it
think
in my head.
I might. Like, no. But like I completely agree with what you're saying. Like because like I'm not quite sure whether he would maybe recognize this himself or even if he would agree with this. But like Stephen definitely was something of like an ad hoc mentor to me in those early days at FBI. Someone that I could just like go to with my dumb opinions and my ideas and my. But yeah, like those fucking mentors of the world, you need them, you know. And Stephen,
Absolutely.
I don't really see him all that much now, but like, I'm incredibly grateful for the input that he's had on my life, and I hope that in some way I've made his a little bit easier.
That's lovely, man. That's lovely.
I've gotten to the point where I've said so many words today that I think my
Yeah. Holy shit! I don't even know.
My face is starting to close up without my permission. So we'll see. On like once I get to the point that I'm literally just straight mumbling, then you can kick me out of your garage.
That's fine. Oh man, you're gonna love this little contraption that I've made.
It's a face opener. And
That's what you should call
just
it.
what you thought.
That's what
in
you should
open
call
spaces.
a good joke. Like when someone makes a really good joke and everyone goes like, it's like a face opener.
I love that you mimed laughing immediately after laughing. You should whatever.
Oh well, yeah. Why did I mime laughing? That's not helpful. I think Shaun McAuliffe used to do that. Did you ever see him in Full Frontal? No.
What's full frontal?
Oh god. This is the beginning of the end. I'm making references to television shows that no one remembers. I'm getting old.
I've heard the name.
Yeah.
Times
So
and like,
it's one of those. So like this is like me asking what's the Human League and stuff like that. Like I don't know much about that.
Here in my car. No, that was Gary
Newman.
Fuck.
Hey, guitar buddies! I saw Gary Newman last night and it was fantastic. So let's check out Cars.
All right, full disclosure, and I 100% recommend, even in like your free time tomorrow or whatever. Was that funny to say?
Just for all, no, but it's just like even just like in your free time at home when you got a minute between between tasks, do this.
Do this, which is watch Ralph the Movie Maker on YouTube.
No, let's move on to something else.
I see each one of my social media like platforms or presences or whatever you want to call it as like a different variation of an abused child.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I've got the Facebook one, which I whip into line, and then I've got the Twitter one, who
whip into line.
I whip the Facebook one into line.
Oh right,
definitely.
you mean okay, you're being you're being a cruel parent.
Stop it.
Yeah.
Be professional.
Sorry.
For the most part.
Be
And then
professional.
my Twitter one is a kid. I'm working like a 18-hour day. I come home and I literally just go to sleep. I say, oh, there's some Red Bull and packet noodles in the cupboard. That's your dinner. And the kid has just like developed into like something that is not like not controlled with human hands, basically.
Like.
What I'm saying is,
Oh right. Right. So is this like the horses thing again? Is this like
I
the
don't know.
what are the Gallop Moonlight? What was the thing called?
Horse ebooks. Gallop Moonlight. Wow. Yeah, so my
definitely
Twitter
writing a
is
song called Gallop Moonlight.
Yeah, please do. My Twitter is just me doing. So I was actually going to mention this before when we were talking about comedy, but my Twitter is just where I put the things that I think are funny, basically. Yeah. And sometimes there's a little bit of plugging involved there, but like for the most part, I'm not going to get business done over Twitter.
Yeah.
Twitter, as I understand it, especially coming to know more and more the people that are kind of quite active in the Australian music Twitter community, is just a bunch of people that music is their day job, and they go on Twitter and they like shit. They like doggos and weird gifs and memes and all that. And occasionally they talk about like sticky fingers goss and all that. But for the most part, it's a distraction.
Totally.
Yeah. But Blood. Let me tell you all about this week. Our sponsor is Blut.com.
Hold on to your bloods.
Blut, the mutt that makes you butt.
I've had friends that have done special releases on tape and things like that, and I've been kind of interested by it, but I don't know if I get the appeal.
I saw the appeal
because I
while
played
I owned a
tapes.
Camry before I got a CD player.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So
that's
now I've got a bunch of tapes that I can't listen to, basically. But the appeal is, I feel like maybe this is a little bit too sweeping of a statement, but I feel like it actually specifically is targeting people that own tape decks in their car, people that are of like a particular demographic and a particular sound. If you own a cheap car, then you probably don't have that much money for merch,
and you probably don't have that many cassettes in your car either.
Exactly. But if you don't have that much money for merch, then you're not going to go for a vinyl record that is $35. You're going to go for an album on tape, which is $10. If you like the band and you got pissed on enough, cheap beer at the gig, you would buy the tape and you'd play it in the car, and you go, hey, this is warm, this is nice, this is full of songs that I like. And when it's like a vinyl record, when the first side ends, it takes a couple of seconds to cycle through, but I don't actually have to physically turn it over, and then the second side begins. Yeah, exactly.
I do miss that, and I didn't even realize that I missed that sound, the sound of the tape flipping over.
Yeah,
there is something nice about.
Satisfying.
Look, I'm slowly being converted around to the tape. This is what are they called? What's the label?
Moontown.
There's also. Did we get onto this because of? No, we didn't.
Waterfall person.
I was thinking we got onto this because of whatever that name I came up for.
Moonlight Derby or something. I can't remember. Moonlight Derby. That sounds like a fucking. I don't know.
I don't know what that sounds like. I think of Reese Darby.
It sounds like a what's that Lee? Someone, that actor.
Lee Harvey Oswald.
No. That's the famous assassin of.
I know.
Abraham Lincoln. Was it Abraham Lincoln?
Yeah.
For a second, I thought it was John F. Kennedy.
No, because John F. Kennedy. No. Oswald was Kennedy. John Wilkes Booth was Lincoln.
That's right. It's just the triple-barreled name that threw me off.
Triple barrel name?
Yeah.
Why'd you choose that choice of words? Why'd you make the choice? Chooser?
Because I like it when my face closes in and stops. It says, no, you've spoken enough words today. No more.
It folds in from the side. Your mouth isn't involved at all.
Well, that's why I've got chubby cheeks. You got it's basically utilitarian. I'm actually quite thin under all this.
Right. Okay.
What was the original question?
There was no. The original question that I had quite a while ago
was how good is Waterfall person?
It was about we were talking about Twitter and that kind of culture.
Yeah.
And
Waterfall person are quite active on that. You said.
All I know is that I just really enjoy what they do on Instagram. Maybe I thought that they were a bit more active, but maybe they're not. But there are certain bands that do it, and they're popular.
Who loves a good Facebook meme? Tiny Little Houses.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Do you like them, or do you know them?
I know them.
Yeah.
But I actually can't place their song.
Sure.
I was some sort of passive playlist that I wasn't paying attention to.
I remember describing them once, and I would love for someone to agree with me.
Okay.
Anyone, hit me up at Lachlan Wylie.
Okay.
If you agree with me. I once remember describing Tiny Little Houses as being like like an indie folk interpretation of what Blink-182 was. And no one agreed with me. But I think it comes from like its adenoidal vocal performances. It's very emotional, conscious lyrics.
Okay, I need a reference point. Okay, what's a good song?
Look up Easy.
Insert Easy by Tiny Little Houses. Don't have permission.
If you up the intensity of that track, replace that sort of nice acoustic guitar with like an electric guitar, kept the lyrics the same.
True. And, you know, it sounds kind of like that Blink-182 album that was, there's a bit of a gap between albums, and it was like 2005 or 6.
I suppose I was always saying this because this kind of reminds me of I Miss You.
That's what I was... Yeah. That album.
Sure.
That one.
Yep.
The one with Feeling This.
I don't know that song.
I'm feeling this. Where are you going now?
Oh, the Beastie Boys.
No!
Are you feeling this drop? It's more of a Futurama reference than it is a Beastie Boys reference.
It was a confused laugh that I had there. But I feel like a lot of my laughs are confused laughs.
You know when you said before that if you're not looking concerned, then people are concerned. If you're not, if your response to me isn't a confused laugh, then I was like, oh, what the fuck? I don't think I like this Shaun guy. He's not giving me.
There's like I only have like base reactions like when it's just I don't know where I'm going with this. Tiny Little Houses, nice band, very active on Twitter.
No, very active on Facebook.
Oh, okay, right.
But
it's a rare band that can tame the Facebook beast.
Take off. Yeah, it's weird.
It's a rare band that can also tame the Twitter beast. Any band can tame Instagram.
They're active on Twitter. I don't know them as being like
Twitter centric.
Yeah. You're right, though. Baba Ganoush, very active. Alex Leahy, Japanese wallpaper.
Yes.
Max Quinn, of course. Do you know him?
I've seen the name.
He's
I'm a fucking sponge of names and nothing else.
Yeah, me too. He is the editor, I think, of Triple J Unearthed. Former presenter on FBI. Now lives in Melbourne and has 100% like found his niche and is incredibly good at what he does. He has basically reshaped the social media presence and certainly the public perception of what Triple J Unearthed is and what it can achieve, which I think is huge.
Right.
Yeah.
And
I don't say those words lightly either.
No, it was a pretty strong point. Is this through the Triple J Unearthed account or?
Yeah, it's through the social media presence. It's also through how active and how engaged he is, both on the Triple J Unearthed like Twitter account and also on his personal account in terms of engaging with the music community at large. I would 100% imagine that he's responding to tweets in bed and. On a technical level, that is work, but he's passionate enough about it that you can tell he just does it because he loves it. That's some high praise for Max. I've actually got a lot. I've got a lot of love for Max. Just very quickly,
we can continue on whatever.
No. I don't know anyone. I've never seen anyone use. No, just leave it at there. I don't know anyone. I've never seen anyone.
I didn't see him. I didn't push him.
You're the first human I've laid eyes on after the doctor that pulled me out of the womb. David Letterman.
Letterman did
the absolute best.
I love David Letterman. And I used to hate him as well, but he's won me over, and I understand why, because it's like now I see how much Conan O'Brien draws his inspiration from.
Well, you know, Letterman, he's smart, he's confident, he has got like
he's got this fun cockiness to him.
Exactly. Even when he's got a team of like 20 writers and he's reading out their jokes and like the opening monologues, you can still hear that he's a clever, smart, incisive man behind that gets the joke and, if anything, makes it better than anyone else reading out that joke would have been.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. He also has this certain way of what is it? It's kind of it's almost sarcastic. It's kind of winky. Like
yeah,
he's in
exactly.
on the joke.
He's always winking to the audience.
Yeah. Like
Not
it's
literally,
like
but yeah.
this talk show thing is a bit of an act. Like but you know, there was a bit of
Talk shows are weird.
No, but like, but when you consider like Johnny Carson and stuff, if you see the sort of context about which American comedians talk about him, and if you watch the footage of his show, you can kind of see that there's a grandness and there's a bit of a respect for the format of this, the Tonight Show and those kind of shows and things like that.
Yeah.
That
Pageantry is how I described it.
pageant. Oh, right, like.
So my housemate loves his Stephen Colbert late show, and he watches it every single night, like when it's out. And he usually kind of puts it on around like 9:45 or 10 o'clock, and I'll usually just be going to bed, so I watch like the first 5 minutes of it. But I love it because it's the big, outrageous, the funky sax and the. And then he walks in. He doesn't walk in. He runs in. Like the slide opens up.
Colbert.
And he's like, hey, Colbert or Letterman or any of them. But he goes, hey, how you doing? And he's like, he's high-fiving people and he's waving and he's kind of doing that. Letterman was great at this, where he would like, as people are applauding, like the applause is dying down, he just kind of like adjusts his tie and
Oh really?
Yeah.
See. No, but I didn't know this Letterman secret. I don't know a lot of Letterman secrets.
No, it's not a secret. It's just like it's the way in which they're like everything that they're doing embodies that you're going to have a great 45 minutes.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so
Conan O'Brien has a lot of great ones of those as well.
I don't really watch Conan or like James Corden or anything, but like Letterman, he does that thing. He adjusts the tie and then he looks over to Paul Schaefer, and Paul's just like. Like he just does like his funky little shit, and you know, as the people are still applauding, because like at this point Letterman's been doing it for 25 years and he's the best in the game. He's just like, as people are applauding, it's like Bill Maher, because he hears it every Sunday. Letterman hears it 5 nights a week. He's just there. He's just like,
Yeah, I forget how respected Bill Maher is.
Yeah. And so he's just like, he's looking at his watch and it's just like, he adjusts the time, maybe like looks at his phone, he looks at his watch, he like scratches his hand a little, because it's all just like, the anticipation is all coming towards him, and he's just like, don't worry motherfuckers, I got this.
It's like Lord of the Rings, it's all about the anticipation of the battle.
Exactly. That was too many words to speak about the way that he opens up a show, but it's great.
No, like, it's awesome. But you said you weren't a huge fan of Conan. I have that with Conan. The routine of him coming out and the self-deprecation. There's a bit of that with there's a lot of that with Letterman.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of I love that as well, and I feel like Jimmy Fallon fucking does not have it. And I don't like to fucking put celebrities
Jimmy Fallon
down.
The one that with like the thin face that
no, that's
shit
Seth
with, like,
Meyers.
No, I'm thinking of Jimmy Fallon.
The guy does the impressions.
There was the other Jimmy, like the
Jimmy Kimmel.
Jimmy Kimmel. God, is he still on the air?
He's great. I like Jimmy Kimmel.
Ooh.
You don't like him?
He seemed like the sort of person to hit me with the car.
Right. I got that because he was on the Man Show. With a car.
Not just in the face, with a car. I was going to say that it's good for us, going towards the end of the podcast, or at least like the little bonus material, to talk about stuff that isn't music, because we've clearly got our different passions. And I feel like it's... Maybe this is just me. Maybe this is you as well. But like for me, I feel like so much of my identity is built around what I do and what my career kind of is partially, but mostly where it's going to be. Because like you can have at least some sort of assumption that if I'm doing this now and I'm trying really hard to do it, then I'll probably be doing this more, bigger and better in 2 years' time, right?
Sure. But it's the whole inspiration thing you were talking about earlier. Yeah.
But like there's this also, I feel like kind of again, this might literally just be me, but I feel like kind of in the early stages of trying to build a career in the music industry, that it has to be so wrapped up in your personality in order to prove your commitment and your dedication and your experience and your knowledge and your contribution to the music scene, that people forget that you have other interests, like that I own a Nintendo Switch. But it's good to remember that we do have fucking interests outside of that. And I was talking about Ralph the Movie Maker before, and I would seriously say, please just like watch like
Sure.
whatever his most viewed video is, and if you like it, great, and if you don't, that's a shame. I'm sorry you don't like it.
I'm just typing into the computer. I got it.
Yeah.
All right.
But it's good to acknowledge. Like I love it when Adam Lewis shares on Twitter or on Instagram that he's going to like a Swans game.
Yeah,
You know what I
because
mean?
it's not everything has to be.
I
about...
love it when Stephen Goodhue goes skiing like 3 times in 1 year on like these dedicated ski trips, even though he's broken each leg once off the back of these ski trips, I think.
Right.
And I love it when, I don't know, like Amelia Jenner, for example, just does like this weird stuff on Instagram,
Right.
doing shit like making sausages or like, pasta or something. And it's just like very weird, specific activities that I find incredibly entertaining to watch in like little snippets
Yeah. Okay.
on Instagram.
No, I agree with that. It's really nice when like it's when you see that other people are just doing other shit that doesn't have anything
Exactly.
to do with what they usually what they fucking have the Instagram famous for.
Exactly.
You know? It makes a big difference. And but you must experience that all the time because you have musical guests on your radio show who are
Yeah.
enjoying stuff.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't really know what point you were getting to about how much you were just enjoying shit.
I think it was more just I was saying that I appreciated the fact that we were able to talk about movies and
Yeah,
TV
totally,
shows and
yeah.
all that because we're like we primarily know one another as a direct result of our engagement or our role in the music scene, but
Yeah.
we're so much more than that.
Yeah. We're fucking we're people.
Exactly.
Like it's
And
we're
so it's
complex
it's
people.
good to nerd out about like incredibly specific GIFs, not
Yeah,
just
yeah.
because GIFs is the most 2K17 thing to say. Well, it's not really. It's more
don't
it's
even
more
get
like
that
it's,
reference.
it's more like a Gen Y word or whatever. But it's like we've got heaps of other shit going on, and I find like especially when you're talking outside of the scope of what your career is and who you are. When you're trying to do it in the early days, it becomes so wrapped up in your identity that people forget that you do anything else. And so, maybe it's getting to the point where like someone's surprised that I don't want to answer a Facebook message or an email about a gig at 11 on Wednesday, because even though I love the music industry and I want to work here maybe for the rest of my life, but I certainly want to continue building towards this over the next 5, 10, 20 years. But like at the end of the day, if you're,
You need a bit of variety. You can't be answering emails 24/7.
But it's also like if you email me about a gig, or especially if you Facebook message me, because I know a lot of people are like, you're online, I can see you're active now, answer my thing. But it's like I consider this work, and even though my identity is incredibly wrapped up in the music industry, if you're working in bed, then you've got your priorities a little bit skewed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
It's good to, I suppose I'm at that perfect point where my identity is so wrapped up in what I do in terms of music that I can imagine plenty of people, not knowing that like I'm really into like weird alternative British comedy from like the 80s, 90s and early 2000s. And that's great.
So like Spaced.
Oh my God, I'm so spaced. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the shit that I think outside of what you do is the most interesting about you.
Yeah, I think
The thing that you're passionate about.
I don't even know what I'm passionate about.
Yeah, who does? But yeah, no, I'm just saying it's good to get to know one another, albeit on like a recorded medium. But like, so apart from music, which we kind of bond over a little bit, we also bond over Mario and how good like Nintendo games are.
Dude, we didn't even fucking talk about that, but Nintendo games are fucking great.
Great.
Wait, when
you
we
got a Switch?
No,
No.
I don't spend any money on video games. No, but like I that's a contest. Just I went part-time work until recently, so I just had much less income, so I just had to kind of cut these things out. Granted, I didn't buy any of them before that, but I back in early high school was atrocious. I loved that shit, and I was like fully up to date with what was going on. Yeah, and then I just stopped because I felt like I was being made fun of for it, and then I never. No, sure, but it doesn't matter now. But like when you're a kid in year 7, year 8, like and then I just sort of faded out of it. But here's the most weird thing. Like sometimes if I can't sleep,
Yeah.
if I like
try to, like, you know, when you try and start dreaming and stuff, I'll try, like, just imagine one of those video games from back in the day.
Yeah.
And it just, like, relaxes me enough that I can sleep.
Sure.
How fucked up is that? That's like...
That's not fucked up at all. I think that just means that you've got a connection. Look, at the
fond
end of the
memories.
Day, at the end of the day, especially when you're talking about like the older games that were more like expressions of like directors and creative artists' creativity.
You think that more so back in the day more than today?
Yes, absolutely.
I don't know anything about...
Sure. I think when you play a game like Mario 64, have you played that?
Oh, Mario 64... Fuck. That is.
Now,
that,
here's the thing.
It was that at the time. Remember? You probably might not.
I kind of don't. No.
Oh, look, my memory's pretty foggy on it. Fuck, it was like 96, so I was 7 years old. So, I remember it being like a huge fucking thing. Like it was, you could move him. You had a stick. He moved with the stick.
Yeah.
Isn't that fucking crazy?
But not only that, I think that there's a certain spark of creativity, and Nintendo, I think that they must have known 100%. Like, this is an exciting idea to talk about. Like, imagine a documentary about this, but imagine the concept of Nintendo knowing at the time that they were about to release, that they were currently developing the most revolutionary game of all time.
Yeah.
In terms of, like, the shift from, 1980s to 1990s.
Yeah.
In terms of, hey, you know that thing where like everything's 2D? We're going to shift that on its literal axis.
Yeah, literally add an axis.
We're not going to shift it on its axis. We're going to add a Z, basically. But not only that, but we have worked really hard at this. They actually delayed the Nintendo 64, and I'm sure that the game was part of it, in order to make sure that not only is it the first, but fuck me, for like the next 3 years, 4 years minimum, it's going to be the best.
Yeah.
That's incredible to think about.
It's amazing. And in some ways, it's kind of like, I don't know of too many other success stories of like a launch title, I guess,
Sure.
with a console, right? So
I think it came in with the console.
It did.
Yeah.
And I remember that being just like this. It was incredible because they fucking nailed it.
Yeah,
Like
they nailed it. Exactly.
Every part of it. Like the 64 was fucking blurry as hell. So they had these bright colors and shit, and it just felt so clear,
And here's the thing. Okay, I'm sorry, but like if there's like a legit like 40-50 minute documentary on Super Mario 64, I would watch that in a heartbeat, because I find...
Is there nothing on YouTube?
I'm sure that there's like a bunch of like amateur videos.
Shitty
to be honest,
ones,
I probably watched some of them.
No, there's
that
screensavers.
I can't remember.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. I just find it so interesting. I reckon let's wrap up in a couple of minutes as well, because 10 to 1. But
Yep.
But they recognized that even though the Nintendo 64 was like the most capable 3D machine, it also compared to PlayStation had a tiny memory space. It was small. It was minuscule.
Cartridges, right?
Because the cartridges were like 128 megabytes, where I think like the
Megabytes.
Yeah, I know. Whereas on like the early PS1 games, I think it was like 700 or something. It was like a CD.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was around there. So the Nintendo 64s had so much less to work with in terms of memory. So what do they do for their first ever 3D game? Hey, we're going to have like 12 or 14 worlds. And because instead of like Super Mario Brothers 3 or whatever, each course is different. What you've got is the one course that's got like 8 or 9 different objectives.
Yeah.
So you're maximizing space, but you're also... Fuck, I really do find this interesting, because not only are you maximizing the space by putting a goal in every single possible corner of it, but by doing that, you're making the space more interesting, thereby making it more memorable, thereby making it appear and both succeed as a passion project.
Oh shit! That was a left turn there. Okay.
You know what I mean? Because like, you remember that?
No, it's kind of like
I need to fucking leave. I could talk about this all night.
No, it's fine. It's the Bowie. It's the Bowie of fucking games.
Honestly though, but like, you remember that course where you've got the weird diamonds that raises the water level up and down?
Oh, wet dry land.
Yeah, wet dry land. So
right off the bat.
they've got so many elements in that course, so many ways to like get up that tower and find your way to the different diamonds
hated
and
that
raced.
fucking level.
It was annoying.
You know why it sucked? Because Mario swam, and Mario does not
Mario
swim
sucks
well.
at swimming. And actually, the Tortor Mountains was annoying, whatever that was.
You know
called.
what's funny? Like, there's just
Most of them are annoying.
I love how all of them are named with just the adjective twice and then the subject.
Or like an adjective and its antonym.
Yeah, like tall mountain.
Or a
Right.
tiny, huge land.
Okay, that's the exception that proves the rule.
This is a sad and beautiful woman. My mother, she's a very strange woman. My mother is a very strange woman. She loves rabbits. Very strange woman, my mother.
Please come to the castle.
My mother, she's a very strange woman. My mother is a very strange woman. She loves rabbits. Very strange woman, my mother.
Should we wrap it up?
Yeah, let's say our goodbyes.
We already did. Do you want to do it?
I'm going to say some more goodbyes.
All right. Well, Lachlan, thank you very much for coming.
No, my pleasure. My
on
pleasure.
the show tonight. Didn't have to.
No, I
Appreciate you
didn't.
coming.
I didn't have to, but it has certainly turned out to be a good way to spend a Wednesday night. So
Yeah.
I also hope me saying it's been fun while spinning around in your office chair with something of a scowl on my face came across as anything other than genuine. Because I'm sort of getting. I think it's because this is the very last thing I say.
That's
I
fine.
promise. I think because the music industry is so overwhelmingly positive, especially in its communication. Everyone's either a legend or a mate or an absolute bloody legend or an absolute bloody mate.
I mean, social media wise, particularly.
Social media wise, and also the way that we communicate with one another over.
I hope you guys are well. Looking forward to it.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. But even just like the stuff like, "G'day, mate. Hope you're doing well," or like you can send an email to Dom Alessio and you go, "Thanks for the time. Thanks for your time for reading this, mate," or something like that. And like that's very Aussie, and it's also why the music industry it's got such a positive sort of language to it. So I've sort of turned into that guy that's still using that language. I was like, "Oh yeah, I've had a great time, mate," whilst looking at an empty wine glass and scowling and still meaning every word I say.
Yeah.
You've got tomorrow off, I don't.
That's true. Well, actually, it's all been pretty good.
Shaun, for some reason, I just don't believe you.
No, it was all like really.
I feel like it was going okay, and then
No, but
somewhere
I didn't know-
around
I
half
didn't
an
know-
hour ago, it went so off the rails that you might as well have just thrown the laptop in a river.
Everyone who's come on before it comes out, I was saying, is really nice. Like, just really nice people. So thank you for coming on.
My pleasure.
Well, because
Is this your way of kicking me off?
No, this is me just no. It sounds like it.
We should wrap up soon, but yeah.
But it was very nice of you to come on because it hasn't even launched yet, and so it's just really doing me a favor, and you don't owe me any favors, so it is nice. So thanks
You
for
have
coming on.
rewarded me with the greatest gif. The greatest gif. That's right. It's the gif of that woman from Survivor where she pulls back the watermelon, right? Like she's arching back with that watermelon in a giant sling. It shoots forward, and then somehow the propulsion knocks some of the watermelon back right into her face, and she is absolutely, and I'm going to use this word carefully, zooted with the watermelon.
Okay,
Straight to the face.
I have to. They're trying to hit like a knight statue with these slingshots of watermelons.
Show that knight who's
All right, here we go.
Oh my god!
It's her damn fault for going on a reality show, in other words. I feel like I'm burping quite a bit.
Yeah, me too. I'm burping heaps.
Yeah.
Lachlan
Four Pines.
Wylie.
Hi.
Yeah. With your 4 Pines burpee beer.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. And I mean this.
pleasure.
I mean this genuinely because
pleasure.
the podcast hasn't launched yet. So
everyone
By the time they're hearing it now, it will have.
or by definition. But but everyone who's come on in these first episodes, I honestly can't believe the kindness of it because all everyone has come on. Most people I don't know at all. We don't know each other. We've chatted a couple of times, but that's it. You know.
I know you enough to know that you're a good guy.
Yeah, I knew same to you, but I mean,
I can name plenty of people that I wouldn't want to be in a garage with right now. So
okay, well that's fair enough.
Yeah.
But the point is that everyone's busy, and thank you very much for coming on.
My pleasure.
I think we had a good chat and had some fun. And what song would you like to finish up with tonight?
Ooh, okay. I was
any song from history.
Wasn't aware that there would be a song. Is there like a theme or
no?
Like...
Any song from history?
Oh God.
Try not to go for like a cool new artist. Just.
Well, I'm just trying to think what I like. Well, I guess we have spoken about They Might Be Giants, and we've spoken about Why a little bit. Neither of them did like a collaborative track with one another, which is both completely understandable and also a shame. God, I guess I would like to pick a Y track just because I think Y is the absolute shit. And Yoni Wolf, aka frontman of Y, if you're listening right now, I'm just assuming that everyone's listening because at this moment no one is.
I'm going to have to interrupt you there, Lachlan.
Yes.
Okay, so we've
got Yoni Wolf behind this door. Yoni! Also, Yoni Wolf has got a podcast, by the way. Everyone's got
with a name like that.
Yeah.
How could he not?
It's called The Wandering Wolf, and it's fucking great. In fact, one more tangent before we go.
No.
One more tangent is that I based the podcast that he recorded with Ryan Lott, aka Sun Lux. I based an interview that I did with Sun Lux about a year and 2 years ago or so off that podcast.
What, you tried to get the same beats? Or
No. I just got all this really cool like insider information because they're friends and they're collaborators and this, that, and the other that you wouldn't have gotten anywhere else. And so I was able to go, hey, Ryan, so perfect example. Apparently, in the album, not the one that came out 2 years ago, which was called Bones, but the one that came out a couple of years before that called Lanterns. Apparently in a couple of the songs, he would have the instrumental ready, he would pitch shift it up half a semitone, he would record his vocals at that level, and then pitch shift down the instrumental and pitch shift down the vocals in order to give himself like this sort of hollow, like there's a hole in his throat vocal presence.
I love shit like that.
Exactly, it's so cool. And so instead of like, here's order, it was like, here's order. It's really hard to like sort of like quantify that, but like it sounded amazing.
And you knew that because you listened to the podcast.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I brought that up in an interview question. I said, hey, so I've heard you've done this, right? On this new record, what sort of like little tricks have you got? Which he fucking loved. He loved it, man. And so he said, oh yeah, on this one of the tracks, I can't remember which one, he said in like the... It was like in one of the stems for the drum line, in like the snare drum like channel or whatever, there was like this weird metallic squeak that he couldn't place, and he doesn't know what it is, and he wasn't sure whether it was like someone dropping a pair of keys or like a squeaky chair or something. Whatever it was, he was fascinated with it, so he started like pitch shifting up and down and changing it and looping it, and he made that the basis of that song. He made that.
That's amazing.
Right?
I love shit like that.
Exactly.
I love a fucking story behind the sound. Oh,
exactly.
That's great. Yeah. I always I'm fascinated by a lot of this stuff where you hear about even to use a really well known example and a really obvious example as well. The second Tame Impala album, Lonerism.
Yep.
I loved Kevin Parker's use of background sounds, and apparently he just put a recorder on the table at a party, and you can hear that in Keep on Lying.
That's cool,
and it's just great, and it's not even necessarily in the background, but that's something that I want to do a little bit with this podcast. I don't know how though, but that's not the point, and I was supposed to be trying to wrap this up.
Yes, and then I got you on.
Tangent. It's okay. It is the tangent.
Yes.
It's Tangent Tuesday. It's Wednesday. Fuck it. You did a radio show before this, so
Yeah.
you're fucking entitled to do whatever you
I
want.
did like an hour and a half of radio. That's probably why I'm so fucking hype.
Yeah, I was listening to you in the
really?
car on the way home to fucking set up for the podcast with
That's
you.
fucked.
Yeah, it was very bizarre. I turned it off straight away because I thought this is too weird.
That's ridiculous.
Also, I really wanted to like sing loudly in the car so that my voice felt a little bit more, because like after you've sort of in the last couple of hours of work, your voice you're not talking to anyone or anything. So anyway, that's not the fucking point. Well, how difficult is it going to be?
It's going to be a multi-layered bedroom.
It's not fucking Wagner, is it?
No. It's like a bedroom pop. Originate. Oh, for fuck's sake! I can't stop talking. It's Why, right? Which started off as like a bedroom pop band, and then kind of like around 2007, 2008, it got very ambitious and very big and very multi-layered. And there's this great record of theirs called Alopecia. I would love for you to play. One of the first songs I ever played on community radio, which is called "A Sky for Shooing Horses Under" by Why.
It's a great name. All right, well, we'll leave you with A Sky for Shooing Horses Under by Why.
Correct.
Thanks again, Lachlan, for coming on the show.
My pleasure, Shaun. Thank you.
We do not have the rights to this song. Instead, please help yourself to this bowl of cats.
End bracket.